Thank you everyone for taking time out of your day to join Alex and myself. I'm Jackie Wogan. I lead the customer success team here at Platform. Joining me is Alex Ralph, one of the co-founders of Platform. And we wanted to take some time to provide you all with a better understanding of what it's like to experience Platform from the student's point of view. So that way, hopefully you can be better prepared to implement this into your class and better equipped to answer any questions your students might have about Platform. So on the agenda today, Alex is going to review student registration, how to completely log a workout, how students can track their personal progress, and then just in general, how Platform can be a resource for your students. So as Alex mentioned, we're recording this. I see the red button, so we're going. One other thing I'll mention, there is a question and answer tool and a chat tool. So if you do have questions throughout the webinar, please post them to the Q&A. That way I can make sure that I get a response to you either during the webinar or afterwards. If you want to use the chat feature, that is really a chat for all of the attendees to see. So questions, go to Q&A, chat to chat. And I think that covers everything. Do you want to take it from here, Alex?
Yeah, that sounds good. So we'll dive in. I am going to be kind of bouncing around between a few different browsers and whatnot, just to show you, some of the different, things, an account that actually has some information in it, sign up. So just bear with me as we kind of bounce between browsers. But right now, what we want to do is start with the registration process, specifically the join code. Join code is always the method that we recommend for getting your kids into Platform. You have a school join code, you'll relay that to the kids. If you don't know where to find that join code, it is on your dashboard roster. You would go to Add Athletes and use join code. And so we would basically relay the code to the kids. And then you'll notice there's an option to sign up through the web or through the mobile app. So we'll review both of those, but we'll start with the web because right now that is the more popular option. There is an option to add kids yourself with a list import or entering them manually. We highly recommend against that just because kids then have to activate via email and it just can slow the process down a little bit. But if you did go that method, they should have an email in their inbox. They can click that link and they'll basically end up at the same registration steps that we're going to review here. So at this point, we're assuming that I am a student and I'm going to sign up with the join code on the web. So I'm going to go to plt4m.com and I'm going to click log in. Once here, you'll see there's an option at the top for have a join code. Click here, and I can enter my school's join code. I'll confirm that I am indeed not a robot, and I'll hit submit. I would then confirm my school, and I'll be able to come in, put in my email, my name, password, and next step. From here, I can choose a sport. Keep in mind, phys ed is an option as we are seeing more phys ed now than sports. Choose my information here, my level, and my grad year. So really 3 easy steps, should take about 30 seconds. And then from there, what I will see is a list of all the available groups in my school's account. So you'll notice here I have Ralph period 1, Ralph period 3, and admin would be Coach Ralph or Mr. Ralph. You have Jackie with her classes. So in this case, I'm going to join Ralph period 1. Submit that. and I'm now into my account. So that's the web process of joining.
I'm going to interrupt you, Alex. I got a question asking if every teacher has their own join code, and we get that question a lot. So we'll just make it really clear. It's one join code per school. So Alex will probably, he just touched on joining groups, but yep, it's one join code per school account. And that just gives them initial access to create their platform profile within your school's account. From there, we then sort them into groups, which is what the last page that Alex just landed on.
Yeah, exactly. So as Jackie said, your school has only one join code. And then as a staff, you would set up your groups as I've done here. And we suggest making those groups public during that registration process. So you give it a name, you make it public. Then kids will see it as we just kind of saw there on the registration, that final step, and they can just enroll in your group. So there is not a group specific join code or a teacher specific join code. There is one join code for the account. So real quick, we will just show the app version. It's basically the same process, but we're just going to get there a little bit differently. So if the kids are going to join on a phone or a tablet, they would download the app by searching for PLT4M in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. They would choose, this has actually been updated, it would say student, they would choose student, and they'll see this page here. Again, if they don't have an account, they can't log in, so they would go to the join code, they'd put in the code, again, confirm the school, and then again, it's the same 3 steps from here. And at the end, they would have the option to join any of those available groups, and then they're into the account. So that is the process there. Bear with me.
Might be worth mentioning, Alex, how like upon registration, that's not their only opportunity to choose their group. So you still have your app up, and you can click back into the groups screen from your home page to search and join a group that way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you gave your kids the join code already, but you had not set up your groups, all is not lost. Kids can still simply go to groups. This will show whatever groups they're currently in. And then they could go search for open groups, right? And maybe, you have kids that have been in the account for a year, but now you have different groups. Obviously, they're not going to be going back through the join code process. So they would just want to go to groups and find, what group they're supposed to be in. And on the web, again, slightly different look, but on the web, under their dashboard, they also have a groups tab. And so again, they can come in and see what groups they're in. They can leave that if it no longer applies, or they can go and search for any other available groups.
Yeah, and then just to wrap up this piece, if a student joins the wrong group or can't seem to get themselves into the group, teachers always have the ability to move kids in and out of groups as well. We just got that question too.
So yeah, so I am, and again, I did forewarn you, I am pulling up a lot of different browsers. So we are back in a teacher's account now, as you'll notice under the training groups, right? So this is where you can see all the kids that have joined your group so far. And then if you need to vet that roster, you can always add and remove. So you could say, okay, well, AJ Jackson is actually not supposed to be in here, and Sarah Ferguson is supposed to be in there. So you can always manage that roster. If you experience, any issues with kids hopping in that aren't supposed to be in there, you can always set it to public for an open enrollment period. And then at some point, a week, 2 weeks after, switch it to private. That'll lock that group in place. And then you can just kind of manage the stragglers with that add and remove option. So that's absolutely an option for you there. And then the one other thing worth mentioning here, just while we're on kind of the registration, is kids who are having trouble logging in. A lot of times what will happen is they'll sign up through the app, or they'll sign up through the web, and then they go and they try to log in through the other device, right? They try to log in through the app after creating the account on the web, or they try to log in on the web after creating the account on the app. And because of that, they're naturally going to have to put in their email and their password. And oftentimes kids put it in wrong, or they made a typo when they actually created the account, and their app or their web is auto signed in, but now that they're logging in for the first time, it's asking them for this information and it's returning an error, right, of wrong username and ID. 100% of the time we get a support call related to that. The kid has just entered it in wrong, and their best bet at that point is to just put in forgot password, enter in their email, and submit. That way they'll just be able to reset the password and then go ahead and log back in.
So Alex, I don't know if you're frozen, but what you're clicking is not showing up, or maybe it's just me. Oh, there we go. Now I see it.
There we are.
It was hiding.
Yep, hiding. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. So this, right, again, they would have to come in and enter in their credentials here. And if, right, it returns a message that wrong username and ID, they can simply choose the forgot password, enter in the email, submit it, and now we'll resend them a welcome email so they can basically reset that password and regain access to their account.
And I think you mentioned this, but the important piece there is that they signed up with their correct email initially. So sometimes we get support calls about, they're trying to reset their password, but they're unable to receive it because their email was entered incorrectly to begin with. So teachers can adjust an email from the roster tab as well, worth noting.
Yep, absolutely. So that is really, everything you need to know from a registration side. So now what we'll look at is how kids actually perform a workout. So on the web, there's a start workout button. And they can choose the start workout, which brings them to their workout menu. So at this point, they will see any of the available workouts that have been assigned to them. Now, just like kids can be in multiple groups, they can also have multiple programs assigned to them. And so in this case, if I was told by my teacher, your assignment for Thursday is Fit 101, lesson 1, I would just find that program. And I can tap in and I have my lessons available to me. So I'd find the lesson I've been assigned to that workout. And then from here, I can hit start workout. And I'm going to have the entire workout available to me with the videos that I can watch, perform the prescribed movements, and then hit done, which brings me to the next exercise. And I will work my way through this program, hopefully not quite as fast as I'm going here. And depending on what program you're using, there are oftentimes something called test results, right? So we'll test or allow them to enter different results. If you're using Fit 1 or Fitness Anywhere, the 1C program, which is built for remote and blended learning training, they all end with a loggable finisher, right? So you'll see a finisher. Kids will be able to log that result, be it time-based or rep-based. And then at this point, might have one exercise. I'm going to complete the workout. 7 of 7 exercises done. It took me 1 minute and 10 seconds and my attendance was logged. Obviously, you'd be looking for a little bit more substantial time spent in the workout. But you'll now see it's been crossed off, right? So it can naturally track their progress. And I just got a message that my internet is a little unstable. So if my image, goes away, let me know, Jackie. But this will basically show, that the kids are 7 of 7 and that they're done. Kids can also keep track of their history. so they can see, right, all the various days that they worked out, what workouts they have done. And this is also that same information that relays back to you as a staff member, either through your staff app or through your groups page, with your ability to check out the kids' log history. So a lot of teachers out there are grading. This information, again, is all going to relay back to you with the finisher test results, exercises, time spent. That's all available to you as well as a staff member. On the students app, you'll notice there's a workout tab here at the bottom. And again, it'll have the workouts laid out here. They can have multiple workouts. They would tap into that workout the same way. And it is, again, the same exact process. The videos, everything they need is there. If they aren't able to finish the workout, they can basically pause that. This language hasn't been updated in this prototype. It would say pause workout. And it'll basically mark where they left off. And then they can return at any time and resume that workout.
All right, we have a couple questions I think are relevant. So somebody asked if they do each exercise in order, if they can do them out of order. So our programs are typically in a very intentional order, starting with warm up, usually movement prep, all leading up to the finisher.
Yep.
So we recommend.
With that said, and I don't have a 300 weight training program, you know, if you're using like a 101, a 301, it does depend slightly on what program. Some, as Jackie said, will kind of lead up with the movements and the movement education right into that finisher. But some programs, like an off-season lifting program or the personal weight training program, if you're in a weight room with a bunch of kids and you want them starting in different places to optimize your weight room workflow, then totally possible that you might say, hey, you know, group A, you're starting on superset 1, you know, group B, you're starting on superset B, and they just, you know, operate from there. That's a little more common when, you know, there is no remote or blended learning. So in terms of, you know, is that possible? It certainly is. I could start on exercise 4, right? So again, it's just whether that's a prudent decision depends more on what program you're doing, but it is functionally possible if it suits your specific use case. So I could do 4, 5, 6, go back up, do 1, 2, and then if I were to pause or finish that workout, right, same result here in terms of the tally.
Yeah, in rereading that question, I think that person was wondering if it was possible in our site to log it that way, which you just demonstrated you can. It doesn't require that they click done on exercise 1 before they can access exercise 2.
Correct. Yep.
But yeah, that's all good information to know. And then someone wanted to confirm our timing feature. If it tracks the total number of minutes in each section, I believe. So worth clarifying that we are just timing each session. So from the moment they click start workout to either pause or done, that's going to start and stop the timer and log that as a session, which you then have access to view.
Yep. And the only other way, so if I started a workout, right, and then something came up, I had to run out the door and I just completely forgot to do anything with this session, it doesn't just run forever. There is a 60-minute inactivity stamp where if there has been no activity in 60 minutes, our system will actually, you know, stop that workout and whatever. So in my case, it would have basically said, okay, what time did they hit the shoulder warm up? What time did they start? Okay, this workout was for 30 seconds. So it wouldn't just run forever and show, you know, 4 hours of activity, which also makes it harder to game it, because if a kid tries to hit start, go play video games, and then come back, chances are it has already timed them out and that session's no longer valid.
Alex, when you pulled up the history and it showed like a green and red stamps on the log history, can you verify what that means?
we have an update coming in a week or two that's just getting rid of that, because it really just, right now, what it basically means is if it's the first workout of the day, right, you'll see the green here has attendance marked, whereas my second workout, also on Thursday, does not, right? So basically, if a kid performs a workout and they don't have to finish it, they basically start it, they hit done on an exercise, at that point, if it's their first, action of the day, they would be marked as attended, right? They did something that day. If they went in and did another workout, attendance is simply a yes or no. It's a binary choice. So they wouldn't be, linked or marked present. But as far as the colors go, we're actually just going to change that because it's unnecessarily complicated. So it'll just all be the same color. But you can look for the attendance mark to see, okay, this was their first workout today. This one, was what got them marked, as present.
Awesome. And then Ronald here asked if workouts can be streamed to their classes for guided learning or for a synchronous lesson. So worth mentioning while we're in the workout here. But yes, we're hearing many different forms or styles that teachers are using our programs. One really popular one is if you are hosting live virtual sessions or classes like this, you can absolutely log in through your teacher account and pull up that program that you are having your students follow by clicking that red preview button. That'll give you basically the same view that the kids see on their end. The only difference is you don't have the ability to log it, whereas your kids do, but the videos are the same, the text is the same. So you could potentially broadcast this in a virtual classroom and kind of do it more of an instructor-led style and do one movement at a time, break apart, perform those movements, reconvene, and move on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when, prior to COVID and remote learning, we always suggested, for 101, 102, and even into the 200s, these are best as instructor-led programs, putting them on a projector or a big screen in the gymnasium or the weight room, and then just using as a staff member the preview. Right? Kids don't even need an account if they're just on 101 technically. You would, watch the video, talk it through, go perform anything it prescribed, right? Watch the Spider-Man, talk through the coaching points, go perform it, come back, watch the next video, so on and so forth. So it's really just using this as a lesson plan, using the videos, and again, if kids are on the hundreds, they're probably, more novice. And so they need extra attention and they need your attention in terms of making sure they're processing the information and then performing it properly. And as Jackie said, you can do that just as easily through Zoom.
Yep. And then we did have a question. Someone asked if we had programs for remote learning and with little to no equipment. So we covered that in another webinar. We took a deep dive into specifically what programs can be used there. I just posted an answer in the Q&A with a distance learning program menu. So that'll highlight for you which programs are going to be your best options with little to no equipment for purposes of distance learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions that are relevant to hit right now before we jump into kind of how, test results can be logged and tracked?
We did have one question. Someone asked if students are able to browse and choose which program they want to follow, or if, okay, so the answer is they are only going to see what you've made available to them. So the students do not have access to our entire program library like you do.
Right. Yeah, so this is that if you were just signing up, what you would essentially see when you come to your training programs page is that every program here in the top corner is going to say private, right? So private just means that the kids don't see it, and that's how it's defaulted. So the kids would not see any programming until you've made it available, right? So like this one says restricted. So what that means is I come into manage, group access, and instead of turning it off to private, I've said, okay, I want to turn it on, but only for, these hand selected groups, which is the phrase restricted, right? Only certain groups that you have hand chosen. And that is what determines what programs the kids see.
Awesome. And then I do want to move on to analytics in a moment. I think there's one more question we might be able to cover though. This is a good one. Someone asked if browsing or if the students have to complete the workout when looking at it, or if they can sort of browse or preview the workout without logging it. So that is a good question. A student could absolutely like come in the night before if they want to prepare for class or just see what they're going to be up to in class. Yep, so Alex is popping in as a student, clicking into a workout. The students have access to look at all the videos. They can see the whole lesson without having to click start workout. So this is actually a common issue, I think, or because students do that and actually perform the workout without logging it, not realizing it. So it is important if you want them to get credit to click that start workout button. But yes, they are able to access the whole thing without logging it.
Yeah, so the only trigger that basically will start the session is either by hitting done or start, right? If you hit start, that's now an active session. If you hit done on an exercise, that's now an active session. So you can preview, read, and watch videos without starting the session. But if you hit done, you've now started that, right? So this has changed the pause, and you basically have to come back out this way.
Awesome. All right, we can probably go on to tracking data in progress from the kids' point of view.
Yeah. So it depends partly on, there's a few different approaches here. So depending on what program you're using, there can be some slightly different tests or metrics that are tracked. For example, if you are using our 311 off-season program, we're going to be tracking the squat, the bench, the clean, in addition to some fitness-based metrics. If you were doing 301C Fitness Anywhere, which has no equipment, then you're obviously not going to be tracking squat, bench, and clean. You'll be tracking metrics. So for example, in this program, right, which is one of our remote options, you'll notice that it has built-in fitness challenges. 1 minute push-up test, 1 minute air squat. And if it's built into the program, right, they'll be able to come in, read, watch the video, and then log that test result directly through their account, right? So I got 22. Save that, done, right? I've completed that fitness challenge, okay? That's now logged. Again, you would be able to see that. So again, it's worth trying to understand from each program, what is, and if you need help determining that, on your coach's site, if you go into manage, you should be able to find a program guide or information here, as you'll see, with all the testing that's included, right? So the manage button under this general info is going to give you really all the information you need regarding, what is tested. And if it's, again, built into the program, they're just naturally going to log that over the course of the program. However, we often find that teachers want to pre and post test, right? Fit 101 has, only one test per movement. So if you want to pre and post test, you obviously need 2 data points. So you can always tell kids in a more ad hoc fashion than to go and run a mile and log that mile time. And kids on the web, under their training tab, they have the ability here to customize their page so that if I've been told we're going to track the push-up, the sit-up, right? They can basically set that up. And so now I can come into my mile and I can see that my personal best was 7:59. That was also my most recent. I could tap that cell, and maybe I ate too much this morning, right? Maybe I didn't log quite as good of a time. Now my PR remains at 7:59. So again, you can push that out to the kids. If you want to use the news feed to post that, if you want to use your LMS system, or if you're with them in person, obviously you can just communicate that and they can go ahead and perform it. On the app, minimize here. If they're using the app here, there is a tab. So same, type of approach. They're going to be able to customize this analytics view, and then they can see their personal bests, and they can tap any one of these cells, and they can see all their historical data points and their progress, as well as log a new result. Now, one important thing here when it comes to logging results is in your staff account. Under account, you want to check your settings. The default setting is this, right? Control of maxes and test results is set to staff only. And only the administrator, the person who created the platform account, can update this because it is site-wide. But we always suggest having this open, especially in a remote setting. Otherwise, kids will not be able to log any of their test results. They'll just be clicking that tile and it won't have that log new option for them. So be sure that you check your settings, and whoever the account admin is, the person who created the platform account, has this up. Probably that too. Did I miss anything on that front, or do we have any questions specific to that?
None specific to the analytics. We did get 2 questions that are sort of asking the same thing, and we're going to make you jump back to logging a workout. But we had 2 questions about, can they jump from one program to another? One person stated, we've got 2 90-minute sessions per week. Can they do more than one workout in a session? So the answer is yes. So I think it'd be helpful, Alex, if you demonstrate what that would look like for the student.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we alluded to earlier, right, and we can see kids can have access to multiple programs, right? So I have Fit 101. A great supplemental program and option is our Mastering Mobility. This program is 26 sessions of guided mobility routines with yours truly, Jackie and I, basically taking them through an entire workout, or so I should say stretching routine.
Welcome
that is
to today's mobility.
20 minutes long, okay? So it'll just guide them right through that. So that's a really popular option when it comes to supplementing a program in those 90-minute classes, or for shorter classes where maybe you can't get a whole workout in, off days where you don't want to work out 5 days in a row. So they could do their 101 or their 301 and then cool down with Mastering Mobility. And that is always 20 minutes. They can do that as many times as you want, as many days in a row. Then the other piece, and I kind of had hid these prior to this, but in their managed view, right, in this particular case, the teacher has also made the EDU programs available, okay? And we have 2 EDUs that you would see on your programs page, a nutrition option and an assignments option. So these are more cognitive-based assignments, non-activity based, right? So again, if you have 90-minute classes, 5 days a week, probably not safe to be working out for 90 minutes, 5 days a week. So you can find some days to say, hey, we're actually gonna do, out of the EDUB assignments, we are going to watch the video on energy systems, on the body's energy systems, and then we're going to answer these questions. If not already, there's probably a question coming about, can kids submit those answers to us through platform? Not really. Not quite built for that just yet. What we suggest is, if you do want to use these and collect responses, you can copy and paste these right off your programs page. So they live here at the bottom, right? So you can come into preview, copy and paste it, put it into your LMS system, be that Canvas, Schoology, Chrome, or Google Class, create those questions as a quiz, and then they're going to obviously, those platforms are built for that. If you did want to use these, again, never forget about your manage button. In the case of the EDUs, you'll find at the bottom of each, there is a teacher answer guide, right? So that would be very useful for you. So that is a very long-winded way of saying yes to that original question.
Back to the manage view, I just want to touch on how this might be used by students. So we have Stacy here saying, like, it sounds like she may be making multiple programs available to her kids, giving them options. So that's where manage view might come in handy. That's where your students can actually, if you've assigned them 6 programs, for example, you want to give them options, and they decide that they're going to follow Fit 101 and Mastering Mobility out of their options. As Alex has just done there, he just managed his student view to only be showing those 2 programs. So that way, every time they log in, their page isn't cluttered with all the options you've given them. They're only seeing the ones they've landed on. And then we did have a question confirming or asking if students can complete workouts on a Chromebook, and confirming that a touchscreen device is not necessary. So absolutely, the platform can be accessed on a touchscreen device or a Chromebook or a phone, whatever is available.
Yeah, so I am on Google Chrome, right now, which is the default browser for Chromebooks, which seem to be the most popular at the moment. But I had Firefox open earlier, as well as Safari. So most any browser. The only browser, while it works, that we would recommend not using is Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer is just the most outdated and least supported browser for any company, any website. So I would generally avoid Internet Explorer.
All right, and then we had a question from Brian, if there was an average or recommended time of completion for each lesson. I think he asked this back when we were talking about the timestamp, but that information all lives in the program guide for each program. So that can be accessed, through your manage button. So every program block has a manage button with that general info page. Within that general info, you can click, it'll say download full program guide. The program guide is going to help you implement this program. And the course overview page, which Alex is scrolling to, has a lesson length that we've outlined, or an average duration that we think it should take students to complete sessions within this program.
Yeah, and it always does depend on the program, as well as some external factors like how many kids are, on a rack in a weight room, right? Are the kids at home, and are they watching the videos during the workout, or did they watch them prior to the workout and now they're just doing the workout? So everything is going to have a little bit of a, of a give or take window. But, generally the 100s are in that 35-minute range, give or take 5, same with the 200s. And then it does, probably scale up closer to 40 minutes in the 301s, 45 to 60 minutes in the 311s. That's just a very broad, assumption there. But you should always try to find the program guide so you know more specifically for each program.
Awesome. Do we want to touch on just other ways kids can use their login? So like where they can find other resources through platform?
Yeah, I mean, the one other thing we'll just highlight is the exercise vault. This has, a ton of different information available to the kids. Every video has detailed write-ups as well. So, this has different categories that kids have to create their own program, right, and submit that to demonstrate knowledge. Well, if that's, the case, great option is to make them go through, one of the intro courses, 101, 201. They learn all about the movements, how workouts are put together. And then when they got to go build that themselves, they can come in and say, okay, apply a metric movement, right? And they can kind of go through, read about it, determine if that's good for, what they're looking for. So in terms of just, on your own resources, that's really what this exercise tab is utilized for.
Yep. So we always say to our customers or to our users, your kids don't have access to the program library. They're only going to see what you've made available to them. But through the exercise library, they do have like a wealth of information, demonstration videos, and exercises at their fingertips. So worth highlighting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. We can hang around and answer any other questions. Pull up the program. Yeah, so someone asked again, are we able to pull up the program and walk our students through? So yes, absolutely. What we're hearing teachers saying that they're doing is using Zoom or some sort of platform like this to host their virtual classroom. And through your preview button on the programs page, you can walk through the program together with your students in an instructor-led format. Absolutely.
Yeah, the other thing I'd mention, just because we get asked about it a lot, but as you're kind of preparing, for classes to start, what we recommend doing is, use the join code. Just use a different email than whatever you registered with for your staff account. And then just as I am doing here, right, you can go in and you can engage with Platform as a student, make sure that when you join your group, right, the programs you want are showing up. And that way, any questions come up, you can see what they're seeing. And you could spend your first class kind of showing them exactly what they're going to see, just as I'm kind of showing everybody, right, what you can expect to see on the student side. You have the ability to create a student account with the join code, and we definitely recommend doing that so you have access as well.
All right, we did get a couple sort of administrative questions. Someone was asking what we use the personal information for, so worth mentioning. Our privacy policy can be found on our website, but we don't email your kids. We don't sell their information. And Alex, maybe you can answer this better than I can, but for the most part, the information they're entering there is for you to be able to identify or sort them.
Yep. Yeah, so as Jackie said, we only use information to allow our staff users to better navigate and utilize the site. So we're not selling it. We're not doing anything with that data. So for example, some of that data that we asked for, like gender, position here, it exists in different places like reports and group management. If you wanted to say, show me only my 2022s, right, then you could do that. So that's, the sole purpose of the data and the information.
Yep, it's really for you guys. And that grad year is a really nice one when you're looking to clean out the seniors.
Yep.
And then I had someone asking if we have Spanish materials. So unfortunately, we don't. I think we were exploring through YouTube some translation or subtitles, but I don't know how far we got there. Alex, do you have any more information there?
Yes, I mean, YouTube has some pretty powerful, CC options and subtitle options where they're just translating it, through their own mechanism. But in terms of, the text that accompanies the program, that a kid would see in terms of like the written introduction, this is at the moment English only, and there isn't necessarily a timeline for that.
All right. So someone asked, can I be registered as an admin and a coach? So every account has one admin and everyone else is considered a coach. Worth mentioning just because we covered settings here, and I think you touched on this, but settings, yeah, go ahead.
Everybody has basically that, whether you're an admin or non-admin, like it's really just whoever created the account has access to settings, and that's it. That's the only difference between, a person that's added after the fact and the person that created the account. So worth kind of keeping in mind, right? Anytime you create a group, anything like that, you can always determine from the list of staff members in there who's an admin on your class or a report or a program. So, you know, everybody is basically treated the same when it comes to the staff, right? You just kind of can say, hey, okay, well, Jackie's helping me out with this class. Jackie's now an admin on this class, right? But as far as account admin goes, that's just the person who signed up. And the only thing that they have access to that you wouldn't is settings. And that's just because we don't want every different staff member changing it back and forth. It's an account-wide setting. So it just has to live in one person's account, and that's the person who creates the account.
Thank you, Alex. All right, so we are getting questions about just general getting started and use of platforms. So I just posted a getting started checklist in the chat. I posted it there for everyone to see. That's a really good place to start if you're not sure like how to assign a program, how to make your group or edit the name of your group. All of that information lives in our help center, and that getting started checklist is a good place to start. So I just shared that with, I believe, all attendees. So click on that link and start there. That kind of walks you through those steps.
Yeah, we can send, we host 3 times a week, we host a getting started webinar where we basically go through getting started as a staff member. So in the checklist, you'll see a pre-recorded video that, you know, covers that in 20 minutes, but you can always join a getting started webinar, and we'll include the registration link for that. That happens every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Awesome. I think we covered all the questions related to the student experience. Hopefully this helped clear things up a little bit. I know it's a daunting task to have to learn, you know, a new system and also teach your students how to use it along with you. So hopefully this gave everyone that joined a little more confidence in their abilities to do so. As Alex mentioned, we're going to be hosting topic-based webinars throughout the coming weeks. We hope to make them as relevant as possible based on like the questions we're getting from you guys. So look out in your email for new webinars to join. If you can't make it, just sign up. We will always send the recorded version to the list of attendees. So I think that's probably a good place to wrap up unless we missed anything, Alex. How are we looking?
I think we're good, and we're, you know, pushing up on an hour. So that's probably a good spot to leave it.
Awesome. All right. Thanks everyone for your time. Look out for our follow-up email with the recording, share it with your staff, and hopefully we see you on future webinars.